Hi, welcome back to the channel. In this particular video, we're going to look at how to sketch a vector field. So we're going to pick some points and then we try to sketch the vectors facing different directions that shows the direction of the vector field in at that particular point. So let's just get started. Now, a preamble to this is to know how to sketch vectors. Okay, now take for instance, you have so my drawing is terrible, so just bear with me. So say you have this, right? So you have this XY coordinate, and here is the center of this. Now say you want to sketch a vector with X in X direction, it has 2, in Y direction, it has 1. How do you sketch such vector? You quickly check the coordinate where X is 2 and where Y is 1. And then wherever they meet, that is where the function would, the vector will be drawn from the center, the center of this coordinate 0, 0 up to that point. Now, let's say I want to sketch -3, -1, the vector -2, -1, also at this center. Then what happens is we look for the X coordinate -3 and Y coordinate -1, wherever they meet, right? Then we sketch, sorry, so this is terrible. So we just sketch this vector. This is still terrible. So let's try one more time. So from the center in that direction. So that would be the vector. So this is exactly what we're going to do with this vector field as well. Now let's come to our XY coordinate here. Okay. So this is the X coordinate. And obviously this would be the Y coordinate. Now we have this function, which is a function of any point in this XY coordinate system, and it produces a vector at each point, right? So for example, let's say we are looking at the vector field at 1, 0, right? When X is 0, Y is 0, what does that give us? It will give us 1 square at I, then we have 0 square at J. So which means it's just a vector with I component 1 and then J component 0, okay? So which means at point, so let's just make some points here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, let's do the same thing here, -1, -2, -3, -4. And let's do the same thing in the negative y-axis, -3, -4. Now, what happens is we are seeing that at 1, 0, at this point, this is the coordinate 1, 0, when X is 1 and Y is 0. Now, we need to now draw a vector with unit 1 in the X direction and then unit 0 in the Y direction. Now, what do you think this vector would look like? Now, just think about it. Remember, before we started with what? 0.00, and we're able to draw the various vectors from this. Now, think about this point as your center, 0, 0. Now, how would you draw a vector with unit 1 in the X direction and unit 0 in the Y direction? Of course, just like we did there, we now think about it as this is your center, 0, 0. Then we have to think about in the X direction, we have to move 1 unit, and in the Y direction, we have to move 0 units. So it will just be, so let me use another column. So it will just be the vector along this with unit 1 in the X direction and unit 0 in the Y direction. I think that makes sense. Now, let's say we change the function to, let's say, f21, okay? Now, f21 would be 2 square I plus 1 square J. So that means 4 in the X direction and 1 in the Y direction. So which means, which point are we looking at? At 2, 1, right? So this is the point 2, 1. This is the coordinate 2, 1. So at this coordinate, we are trying to find the direction of the vector. Okay, and the vector is going to be 4, 1, right? Now, again, imagine this is the center, and you're trying to draw this vector with 4 in the X direction and 1 in the Y direction, which means if it is 4 in the X direction, that means we're going to move 4 units to the left, right? This is second unit, so we have to move further from this. Let's say here is 6, So we move 4 units, right? So in the X direction, and then 1 unit in the Y direction, which is at 2. So the coordinate here would be 6, 2, right? So the vector that we have to draw would be vector this, right? With 4 units in the X direction and 1 unit in the Y direction. So this is exactly how we draw vector fields. So we can quickly fill in the gaps with this particular problem that we have. So let's quickly write. So we are looking at 0, 1, minus 1, 0, 2, 1, minus 2, 1, and then minus 1, minus 1. So let's quickly finish the problem here with this. So I think we did, we've done, okay, we haven't done 0, 1. So 0, 1 is, let's pick the point 0, 1. So when X is 0, Y is 1. So this is 0, 1. Okay. Now we need to draw the vector along this line. So of course we have to calculate F of 0, 1, and that will give us okay, so that would give us what? That would give us 0 square I plus 1 square J, which is just vector with 0 as the X component and Y as and 1 as the Y component. Now, what does this give us? So at this point, we now need to draw a vector with, in the direction of X, 0 unit, and in direction of Y, 1 unit. So that means in the direction of X, nothing, we are still in the same place, and direction of Y, 1 unit. So this would be the vector at that point. Now, what about the next one? The next one, F of minus 1, 0. What would that give us? I think that would give us this vector 1, 0. So just calculate that. You'll get vector 1, 0. So which means at this point, minus 1, 0, which is here at this point, the vector would be what? 1 unit to the 1 unit in X direction, that means to the right, 1 unit to the right, and nothing in the Y direction. So this would be the vector, the direction of the vector at that point. Okay. Now, what about the next one? So what's the next one? F of, so the next one is F of 2, 1. So if you do this, don't forget this is 2 square I plus 1 square J. So that will give us 4, 1 again. So at 2, 1, where is 2, 1? I think we did that already. 2, 1, we already plot this, so this is fine. So what about minus 2, 1? So minus 2, 1, again, we have 4, 1, okay? Now, this vector 4, 1 at minus 2, 1, so where's minus 2? X is minus 2 and Y is 1. So this is at this point. Okay, so at this point, you see is the same thing. So we are going to, let me just indicate here. So we are going to, so don't forget, we move in the Y direction 1 unit and in the X direction 4 units. So it will be this vector where this place would be 6, minus 6, right? So here's minus 5, here will be minus 6. So we'll move my 4 units to, so you can see we are moving 4 units. Okay. I think this is wrong. So basically, we are moving 4 units in X direction, which is positive X direction, and 1 unit in positive Y direction. So let's see, 4 units here. That will be, this is 1 unit, 2 units, 3, 4, right? So this is the 4th unit. So here, and we're moving in Y direction by 1 unit. So when we draw the vector field from at this point, the field line would be in this direction. Okay, I think that makes sense. And finally, at F equal to, at minus 1, 1, what would this be? Minus 1 square I plus minus 1 square J. So this would give us 1, 1, right? So at minus 1, minus 1, so this is when X is minus 1 and Y is minus 1. So you are here, okay, at this point. So at this point, what will be the vector? X would be in Y in the positive 1, so 1 unit in the X direction and 1 unit in the Y direction. So this is 1 unit in the X direction, this is 1 unit in the Y direction. So it will be this vector up to the origin. That will be the direction of that vector at that point. So this is how we draw vector field. And when you draw all the field lines at all the different points, that would give us a general picture of how the vector field is, right? I hope you understand how we draw the vector field from this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.